Here are the worst roller coaster accidents in human history, starting with the heart-stopping and heading straight for the beyond terrifying. We're uncovering the dark side of these thrilling rides. Stay with us to discover the most unexpected twist that no one saw coming. Number 6. The Superman Tower of Power. Imagine your heart racing, strapped in and ready for the thrill of the Superman Tower of Power. This towering ride promises unmatched excitement, yet for one young girl, thrill turned into horror as she tragically lost both of her feet. But first, let's rewind to Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom and see how it all started. Back in 1995, this thrill seeker's dream was born. First known as the Elevator, a name that's all too fitting given its story, it was later rebranded to the more heroic Superman Tower of Power, a ride that catapults you up 177 feet, then sends you plummeting down faster than my dog dies for a dropped steak, only to stop abruptly just 20 feet from the ground. Exciting, huh? But 2007 had other plans. On a day that started with laughter, Caitlin Lassiter, a 13-year-old filled with the same excitement and anticipation as her friends, faced a nightmare. Their first ride was a walk in the park, yet it was their second ascent that spelt disaster. Just as they were going up, the ride's cables, once safe and reliable, failed them, snapping and whipping around like furious snakes. Panic erupts as the cables, now like rogue serpents, lash out wildly, wrapped around the girls in a dangerous tangle. The smell of burning and smoke filled up the air. It became clear that something was terribly wrong with the ride. Then came the sudden, terrifying drop. Caitlin's memory of the descent is a blur, dominated by an intense burning sensation. Tragically, those cruel cables, in their final act of betrayal, tightened around Caitlin's legs and cut them off during the descent. You might ask, what about the emergency stop? Well, it existed, but in a moment of sheer panic, the ride operator hesitated, precious seconds slipping away. By the time the button was pressed, it was too late for Caitlin. Stuck, she waited in pain for the rescue, a wait that seemed like forever. So what went horribly wrong? Negligence, my friends. Pure negligence. Imagine a car with no brakes, a plane with no wings. That was the tower, a thrill ride lacking proper care. Consider this scene. 2 technicians responsible for the ride's upkeep. It says here to wipe the cables with a cotton rag every 6 months. Forget that. Let's just sprinkle some cornstarch on them. Works wonders on my sweaty feet. Okay. Yep, they chose cornstarch over actual safety measures. Really cutting corners, weren't they? And when crisis struck, the ride attendant was more lost than a mouse in a maze. Hey, so, cables broke, kids are screaming? Should I, press the big scary red button or something? Was he perhaps hoping for Superman himself to swoop in for the rescue? Those critical 10 seconds of delay had devastating consequences. For Caitlin, they marked a profound shift in her life's trajectory. At the hospital, surgeons fought bravely, saving her right leg in a narrow escape from total loss. Yet her left leg couldn't be saved, amputated below the knee. A bittersweet outcome. The aftermath saw the dismantling of the towering menace known as Superman Tower of Power, a steel giant now fallen. Its removal echoed through the corridors of Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, leading to its eventual closure. A testament to the tragedy's impact. Caitlin's settlement with the park provided financial security, but the shadow of that day remains, a stark reminder of a life forever changed. Number 5. The Orlando FreeFall Drop Tower. Now, this claims a heart-wrenching spot on our list. At Icon Park in Orlando, where dreams reach as high as the sky, stood the Orlando FreeFall. This 430-foot giant, hailed as the world's tallest freestanding drop tower, promised a thrill that can make your heart skip a beat. But on a day in March 2022, this thrill machine turned into a spine-chilling tale. Meet Tyrese Sampson, a 14-year-old with the build of a future football star, towering at 6'5" and a solid 383 pounds. After being turned away by other rides due to his size, he must have felt a surge of excitement when he was surprisingly welcomed by the FreeFall's operators. As Tyrese strapped in, he felt something was off. The restraints seemed more like a loose suggestion than a secure embrace. As the ride ascended, he shared his fears with his friends. "Guys, this doesn't feel right. If I don't make it, tell my mom and dad I love them." Those words, heartbreakingly, were his last. "Hey, do you think we should double check that big kid's harness?" "Nah, it's probably fine. What are the odds?" Then, as the ride made its breathtaking drop, the unthinkable happened. Tyree, betrayed by the poorly adjusted restraints, slipped from his seat and plummeted to a tragic death. Leaving onlookers in shock. Emergency services arrived swiftly, but it was a case of too little too late. The park, once filled with laughter, was silenced by a tragedy that should never have happened. The investigation was like peeling an onion, revealing layers of oversight and missteps. In an attempt to make do, the ride operators had fiddled with the restraints, creating a dangerous gap that was almost double its normal size. It turns out, Tyree was almost 100 pounds over the ride's limit, a critical detail that was, let's say, conveniently overlooked in the spirit of the more the merrier. Imagine being told you're too big for the teacups, but just right for the Tower of Terror. The aftermath was a cascade of revelations. The ride's safety sensors were tricked by the operator's manual adjustments, an oversight that turned what was meant to protect into a fatal flaw. This error turned the FreeFall into a free fall in the worst way possible. Autopsy reports read like a horror story. Internal bleeding, fractures, broken bones, a gruesome testament to the fall's severity. Following this heartbreaking incident, the Orlando FreeFall ride was permanently closed, marking a solemn end to the attraction. It stands as a ghostly reminder that when it comes to safety, cutting corners is about as smart as drinking soup with a fork. Sometimes the scariest thing at an amusement park isn't the ride, it's the people running it. Number 4. The Railblazer. In an unexpected turn of events, the Railblazer at Six Flags, a daring new venture in roller coaster innovation, met an abrupt end only weeks after it challenged thrill seekers with a unique experience. This story reminds us that the leap from innovation to catastrophe can be shockingly short. But first, let's rewind to 1984, when Six Flags executives were on the hunt for the next big thrill and were hit by a flash of innovation. What's more heart-pounding than a high-speed roller coaster? Tell us! 2 high-speed roller coasters. Yeah! Great idea! Yes! And thus, the River King Mine Train was divided into 2 tracks to ramp up the fun. But as new rides began to steal the spotlight, the search for something wilder pushed them towards a decision that would unexpectedly change the game. Not once to back down, the Six Flags think tank had yet another bright idea. Hey, guess what's more thrilling than a high-speed roller coaster? Is it 2 high-speed roller coasters? Even better. A high-speed roller coaster where everyone stands. That's why you're the boss. Yeah, let's go! Oh, kind of like that one in Japan? Nonsense! This is innovation at its finest. On June 17, 1984, the River King Mine Train was reborn as the Railblazer, complete with stand-up trains. Because sitting is so last season, right? It was an instant hit, drawing crowds and long lines, a testament to its novelty. But the excitement was short-lived. Just 3 weeks in, the ride became the scene of a heart-wrenching incident that claimed the life of 46-year-old Stella Holcomb. On the tragic day, July 7, 1984, Stella and her husband Carl embarked on the Railblazer adventure in Six Flags St. Louis. They were secured with 3 restraints, one over the shoulder, one around the waist, and another around the knees. Holding hands, they were a mix of excitement and nervousness as the ride started. Yet as the coaster dipped and swerved, something went horribly wrong. Stella was tragically thrown from the ride, suffering a fatal head injury against a tree, which sadly led to her death. The bewildering part? All restraints were found locked upon inspection when the train returned to the station, a detail that haunts the tale to this day. The park insisted that such an accident was inconceivable, yet the unthinkable had happened. like finding out your grandma is actually a secret agent. It's that level of shock. In the legal aftermath, Carl and Stella's family sought justice, resulting in a $1.8 million settlement from Six Flags and the coaster's manufacturer, Aerodynamics. The incident cast a long shadow over the Railblazer, leading to its eventual closure and the return of the River King mine train, a somber reminder of the day innovation took a devastating turn, proving that sometimes what goes up doesn't always come down the way we expect. Number 3. The Batman roller coaster. As risky as riding a roller coaster can be, sometimes even just being near one can lead to catastrophe. In another tragic incident, a teen was decapitated simply for being too close to a roller coaster. Before we delve into this shocking incident, let's journey back to the origins of the ill-fated ride at Six Flags Over Georgia. Known as Batman the Ride, this steel-inverted coaster, launched in May 1997, is known for loops, corkscrews, and high-speed turns, a tribute to the Dark Knight's legendary agility. Isn't it ironic how a ride celebrating a superhero known for saving lives becomes the backdrop for such a grim tale? Picture this: a young girl's favorite headband, a cherished accessory, is lost on the ride, landing in the forbidden zone below.
Mom, we've got to get it back. It's my favorite.
Honey, those signs are there for a reason. Let's ask for help.
But look, someone's down there, near my headband.
What the? Let's just find you a new headband, sweetie. Okay, that's pretty traumatic, but here's a reminder, those warning signs at amusement parks, they're not just for show. They're not like those terms and conditions we all pretend to read before clicking. I agree. Sadly, in this tragedy I'm about to share, those crucial warning signs were completely ignored. On June 28, 2008, Asia LeSean Ferguson, a South Carolina teen, found himself at Six Flags with his church group. In a bewildering act that was never fully explained, he and his friend decided to disregard multiple warning signs. They leaped over not one, but two 6-foot fences, reaching into a restricted area, where guests were never meant to tread, directly beneath the soaring Batman coaster. The area, forbidden for good reason, became the scene of a horrific accident. Asia was struck by the speeding coaster, traveling at a blistering 50 miles per hour, an impact that would see him thrown back over the fences, resulting in his immediate and tragic decapitation. Rumors swirled among witnesses. Was he retrieving a hat? Trying to touch the coaster? Cobb County Police, however, dismissed these as mere speculation. It seemed Asia and his friends were simply trying to take a shortcut back into the park. Following the tragic incident, Six Flags ramped up their safety measures. They added even more warning signs and installed barbed wire atop the fences. Since the park and the ride weren't at fault, the Batman roller coaster continues to operate. Asia's family blames no one for the death of their son. Number 2. The Verruckt Slide. Insane is an understatement when it comes to the Verruckt, the world's tallest water slide. It's a tale of big dreams and big mistakes, ending in a tragedy that deeply affected everyone who witnessed it, especially a young boy who saw his brother's life end in horror. To get the full picture, let's go back to 2009. Schlitterbahn, already basking in the glory of their Texas water parks, set their sights on Kansas City for their next big thing. But the opening in Kansas City, it was more of a flop. Like throwing a party and only your neighbor's cat shows up. Fast forward to 2012, and the owner Jeff Henry and his business partner John Schooley had a light bulb moment.
Ta-da! The world's tallest water slide.
That's huge.
Go on, give it a try.
This is safe, right?
Let's find out. Looks like we need to tweak a few things. Yup.
Well, thankfully they actually used test dummies, but the results are the same. Jeff and John, lacking any real qualifications, took on the project with minimal advice from actual experts. Their creation was a gamble from the get-go. Verrückt, meaning insane in German, was a 169-foot drop into madness that debuted on July 10, 2014. The fateful day of August 7, 2016, Caleb Schwab, a 10-year-old full of life, visited Schlitterbahn with his family, excited for a day of fun. His dad, Scott Schwab, a state legislator, had gotten free passes, oblivious to the tragedy that awaited. Caleb and his brother Nathan, brimming with excitement, raced to conquer Verruckt. At the top, they had split up to meet the raft's weight requirements. Nathan, who went first, zoomed down the slide with a whoop of joy. Caleb, full of anticipation, followed, joining two other women seated behind him. They shot down the first hill at a blistering 70 miles per hour. But on the second hill, their raft went airborne. Caleb, being the lightest of the three riders, was tragically thrown from his seat, colliding with the safety net and its supports above, leading to his decapitation. Nathan, witnessing the horrifying scene from below, was in shock. Despite the prompt arrival of emergency services, there is nothing they could do for Caleb. The two women on the raft with him survived, but suffered severe injuries, a broken jaw and bone fractures. The park shut down for the day, and Verruckt was closed indefinitely. So what went wrong? Investigations pointed to a known problem: rafts taking flight. The park's solution? A safety net, which tragically became a death trap for Caleb. Tyler Miles, the operation director, claimed that he knew nothing about this danger, but reports from workers told a different story, revealing a history of injuries. Following the accident, Henry and Schooley were charged with second-degree murder. Tyler also faced manslaughter charges for concealing past incidents. In a settlement in 2017, the Schwab family received $20 million from the park. But in a turn of events in 2019, all charges against the three men were dropped. Judge Robert Burns cited Kansas's lack of specific safety regulations, meaning technically no safety laws were broken, despite the grave outcomes. It's like finding out the monster under your bed is real, but the law doesn't cover monsters, so it gets to stay there. Number 1. The Ghost Train. In the heart of Sydney's Luna Park, a ghost story not of the supernatural, but of a harrowing disaster unfolded. The Ghost Train, once a maze of twists and turns, became the grim stage of a devastating fire, claiming 7 lives in a tragedy wrapped in mystery and later linked to a notorious figure straight out of Sydney's criminal underworld. But first, let's revisit 1935, when Luna Park first opened, featuring a ride called the Pretzel. Why the name? Its track twisted and turned so much that riders might have felt like they were inside a giant salty snack. Years later, it became the Ghost Train, because what's more comforting than being reminded of your own mortality while on holiday? Even with makeovers, the twisty, confusing path stayed the same. On the evening of June 9, 1979, a group of young friends from Waverly Boys College, all around 12 or 13, set out for an adventure on Sydney's Luna Park Ghost Train. It was a special outing for them, the first without watchful eyes of parents. At the same time, Jenny Godson and her family were enjoying their holiday, her sons keen to brave the Ghost Train. As fate would have it, Jenny opted for an ice cream instead, a decision that would haunt her. As the boys lined up, the ride could only take 4 at a time, leaving Jason Holman outside to catch the next round. But just before he could board, an attendant abruptly pulled him aside. Confusion turned to horror as smoke and screams filled the air. The Ghost Train, engulfed in flames, had become a death trap. Jason and Jenny, ice cream in hand, melting unnoticed in her shock, could only watch in despair as their loved ones remained trapped and yet to emerge from the tunnel. Initially, hope flickered as park staff thought everyone had escaped, but this assumption was tragically incorrect. After firefighters finally subdued the blaze, the harsh reality became evident. By then, the ride had collapsed, leaving behind nothing but charred and twisted debris. In one of the tunnels, the huddled remains of the Godson family were discovered. In another section, the bodies of Jason's friends were found. The victims were so severely burned that investigators initially mistook them for animatronics from the ride. It seemed likely that in a desperate bid to escape the engulfing smoke and flames, the victims had left their carriages only to be trapped inside. The exact cause of the fire remained a mystery, never conclusively determined. Years later, a twist emerged, tying Abe Saffron, a notorious Sydney mafia figure, to the tragedy. Listen up, I want that park lease. How about a hot surprise for Luna Park?
Like a spicy food festival, boss.
No, you numbskull. Fire! I want flames.
Ah, a blazing spectacle. Got it, boss. A flaming roller coaster it is.
On a more serious note, rumors long suggested that Abe Saffron eyed Luna Park for over 20 years, plotting the ghost train fire not as an accident, but as a scheme to scare off tenants and seize the park's lease. It was actually Abe's niece who spilled the beans on this whole scheme. She claimed that her uncle orchestrated the fire, but he never meant for it to turn deadly. Still, nothing was ever proven. Today, Luna Park stands resilient, a small plaque commemorating those lost in the ghost train fire. And so, next time you're queuing for a ride, maybe skip the ones with a fiery history. Those roller coaster tragedies were just the beginning. You won't believe what's even more unpredictable. Miss this next video, and you'll miss the most jaw-dropping cases of animals killing humans ever recorded. I'll see you there.